Hello, and welcome to the Law of Sine / Law of Cosine story problems video. In this video, we're just going to go over two story problems of different types. You may be able to guess the types. Also, my hands are, you can't see me, but my hands are in my mouth, like fake whispering. The math you're using is not anything new. You don't even have to find the rest of the triangle. It's just following along with the situation. So here's our first one. Finding the length of a ski lift. So consult the figure down below. To find the length of the span of a proposed ski lift from P to Q. So here's P, here's Q. A surveyor measures that the angle DPQ, to be 25 degrees. So that's right here. That's not inside the triangle. And then walks off the distance of 1,000 feet to R, 1,000 feet, and measures the angle PRQ, this one right here, to be 15 degrees. What is the distance from P to Q? So you don't necessarily have to do this, but I'm going to redraw the triangle a bit so it doesn't have all this stuff with it, and I can maybe see a little bit more clearly. So I'm going to do it like this. I know it's not exactly to scale, but I'm going to draw in everything that I know. Okay, so here is Q, here's R, here's P. We know that this length right here is 100 feet. Angle R right here is 15 degrees. And then we have 25 degrees, but it's not inside the circle. The triangle, it's right here, 25 degrees. So in order to learn what that angle P is inside of the circle, I'm going to do, for my angle P, 180 minus that 25, since one line is 180 degrees. That's going to get us 155 degrees. So inside here, we're going to have 155 degrees. So I can see from here that we now have the situation of angle, side, angle of my triangle. Angle, side, angle, and angle, side, angle means that we should be using the law of sines. So from here, I take a look at this and go, okay, what am I trying to find? Well, the question asks me to find the distance, call this side R over here, the distance from P to Q. Actually, I'm just going to call that X. We'll call this side X. So we're trying to find that length, so I'm going to need to have a setup here of 15 and X, or sine of 15 over X, but then I also need another setup. It's going to be difficult to find this side, so instead I'm going to find this angle up here and compare that with my 1,000 feet. So to find my angle Q, I'm going to do 180 minus 15 minus 155, and I'm going to get 10 degrees. So it didn't ask me to find this, but I am going to need to find some extra information in order to go about finding what I need. So now we can have our proper setup. Move this up just a little bit. Sorry, that paused at some point. And then we're going to have sine of 10 over 1,000, so our side length and our angle, is equal to sine of 15 over that other value, that x value. So now that we have that set up, we're just going to solve like normal. You're going to cross multiply 1,000 sine of 15. Then we'll divide both sides by sine of 10, and we'll get that x is equal to 1,000 times sine of 15 over sine of 10. And when I plug that into my, sorry, it paused again. When I plug that into my calculator, I'm going to get 1,490. We're going to round to the second decimal place, so we'll say 0.48. So this is a story problem. I'm going to write a sentence, and that sentence is going to say the distance between P and Q is 1,490.48 feet. There you have it. Don't forget your measurements. But there we go. We've drawn our triangle, which you don't necessarily have to redo. I just did in this case. We've used our math. I've written a sentence. There we have it. So for our next question, it didn't actually come with a story. It just came with a picture. So I'm going to pause and write out the entire story problem. After I do so, feel free to pause and write it down yourself. However, you can find it in the completed notes. So I'm going to take a moment and pause. So here we are. I know it just kind of did a flash. Feel free to pause and write down the problem, but I am going to read it out loud. So a cruise ship leaves San Juan heading, I'm going to go back. I thought I had this pointer. Heading to Barbados is 600-mile distance. So there's a 600 miles. An oncoming storm sends the ship off track by 20 degrees. So instead of going straight, we're off by 20 degrees. The ship travels 150 miles before heading back to Barbados. So we're going 150 miles off course. You got to turn around. How far does the ship need to travel to reach its destination? So from where it is right now, the question is, what is this distance? What is this x? Well, first thing we need to determine is what equation should we use? Well, based off of the information that we have a side here, and an angle in between. So since we have an angle in between, that is side, angle, side, or our law of cosines. So I'm going to be using my law of cosines to determine that length of x. So we'll have x squared is equal to 150 squared plus 600 squared minus 2 times 150 times 600 times cosine of, not 120, just the 20. And there we are. So now that I have this done, let's start squaring some things. So this will be x squared is equal to 22,500 plus 360,000. Yep, making sure I have enough zeros. Minus 180,000 times cosine of 20. I'm going to add the first two numbers together, so we'll get 362,500 minus 180,000 times cosine of 20. Again, remember, please do not subtract these numbers. This multiplication is more important. So instead, we are going to square root both sides. So we get that x is equal to the square root of all of this shenanigans. I'm just going to rewrite it down here. Then once you plug this into your calculator all at once, you get that x is equal to 439.72. Again, side lengths all around to the second decimal place. But since it's a story problem, we got to write a sentence. So our sentence will say, the ship travels 439.72 miles to reach Barbados. So there we are. There's a law of cosine story problem. Now, the thing about story problems is that the math of it isn't too difficult, especially because you don't have to solve for a whole triangle. It's more about the setup of the problem. So we're going to be talking about the setup of the problems, but the review's not going to have pictures, and the test isn't going to have pictures. So make sure that you practice with those setups. If you have any questions, let me know, and I look forward to seeing you next class period.